The Favor was not something I wanted to see because it looked just like an Oscar bait attempt. Like, this is a period piece. It's got these Oscar time, big time actors. It is loosely based on a true story. It has that witty humor, and then it kind of cuts in the trailer to something super heartbreaking and super well performed. When I got into it, I was pleasantly surprised. It's a retelling of All About Eve. That's kind of a given. When you get into these people, you really feel like you know them. You experience a lot of the personal side. You go into their bedroom, get into these things where they experience all these weaknesses. They get through all of these moments, and there's a lot of things with relationships in terms of those weaknesses. And that's how these people get to know each other. And I think it's also during this time that was super proper, super magnificent, luxurious, when these people who are in loyalty end up in a scene where they're vulnerable and they're not properly dressed, they're not well slept, their hair is all frizzed up, gains a lot of depth to these characters. I think that was one thing I was kind of scared going in, because I was thinking, the thing with period pieces is we make these time periods way too clean. And I think you gotta grit it up like mad. You need to show the cruelty, the harshness, the disregard for humanity and humane practices and humane actions. Thankfully, they end up getting into this. It's a lot more violent, it's a lot more sexually provocative than you're probably thinking it's going to be. The Queen in this film, it's kind of a toss-up, because when you constantly are thinking about All About Eve when you're watching this, the Queen, she does very well. But I think when you have Bette Davis in there, I feel like I knew her just a little bit more. This actress, and she does very well. She does very well. But I always felt like, okay, this is a performance. It's a very well done character, but this is a performance. Emma Stone, on the other hand, definitely gives the Eve character a run for her money. And this is someone who has a very sweet face, just a gorgeous person, but she can also have those razor sharp, Nicole Kidman eyes. Where this film really shines is getting reactions out of people. Say I'm not the one talking, I'm listening to somebody else. It's looking at me, listening. That is so vital, and something that we definitely don't do enough. We always have it in these artsy fartsy movies, and I'm like, just put it in a blockbuster for God's sakes. We just need the reaction. It is so important. They got excellent actors to say these lines, but also to listen to these lines. The film was cleverly set in the early 18th century. It's very gritty, very pompous, very flamboyant. When these people talk and when their relationships start souring and they have that cordial smile on their face when they're saying these despicable things to these other people, how refreshing that is to watch. When it gets to the very end of this, when things start to get a little more hostile and they're still talking at the same level, I think that is so smart, and it almost gets into a dreamlike atmosphere, and it really feels like you're in a different time period. You see the very ostentatious side, but you also see the very gritty, the violent, the very sexual, and the very forbidden stuff. I really liked the way it looked. I loved the costume design and the way they shot these certain scenes. There's a lot of darkness. That whole scene when Emma Stone's up there and, that sort of thing happens, it is a gorgeous thing to look at, because you really feel like you're that little light in the darkness. The pathways they go into, and then the reveals when they go into the light. Clever stuff. The chick who plays Sarah Churchill, there was something that felt kind of standard about this character, about this role, in that they react, but they don't fully react, if that makes any sense. It's like they'll be upset, but they won't be super upset. It has some good characters, it looks beautiful, so I would check it out for that, and the ending, that final shot, is fan-friggin-tastic. So that is about it for me. I enjoyed it. You should see it. Who are we? Who are you? I'll see you next time.